Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's N.J.A.C. board meeting, and happy first day of Hanukkah to anyone celebrating. The time is 10:03, and I am calling this meeting to order. Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote? I'm sorry, can you please read the notice of the public meeting before we do roll call?
Chairwoman, this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission's 2023 annual meeting schedule. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of the meeting was provided to the Asbury Park Press, Atlantic City Express, Bergen Record, Courier Post, Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times on January 11th, 2023. The agenda and information regarding the in-person meeting and the ability to live stream was also posted on the CRC website. Meeting time and location has also been posted on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and with the Office of the Secretary of the State.
Thank you. And can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Barker,
Present.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
You may have to repeat, actually.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Present.
Commissioner Nash,
Present.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Present.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Present.
We now have a quorum. The first order of business is for the Commission to go into executive session to discuss legal matters and litigation updates. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. We believe the executive session should take about 60 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session.
Moved by Commissioner Barker. Is there a second?
Madam
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chairwoman, before we go into executive session, I'd just like to recognize that today's Pearl Harbor Day. We have veteran entrepreneurs that are getting into the cannabis business, and I want to recognize their service for our country and those veterans who serve our country throughout the years. And today's a special day. 3,500 American veterans from World War II, in the World War II area died today in the attack of Pearl Harbor, and I just want to recognize that it is Pearl Harbor Day. Thank you very much.
Very well said, Vice Chair. Thank you. Is there any further discussion before we call the vote on for executive session? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of adjourning into executive session, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. As Mr. Saeed said, we expect the executive session to last approximately 1 hour. And so we will leave the live stream running during that time. There will be select staff members who will remain in this room during that time. However, those individuals will not be able to answer any questions related to information or matters that are pending before the board currently. So we can expect to resume the public portion of this meeting at 11:07. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome back. The time is now 12:12, and we will resume the open public portion of this meeting. Apologies for the delay, the extended executive session. We do our best to anticipate how long executive session will last, but sometimes the conversation just needs to go a bit longer to make sure that the commission has all the information and that it needs to then make its decisions. Mr. Saeed, can you please announce the next agenda item?
Next up on the agenda is approving the minutes of both the Commission's open and executive sessions held on October 19th. The minutes have been shared with the members of the Commission prior to this meeting.
Thank you. If there are no desired edits or changes to the meeting minutes, I will ask for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the October 19th minutes of the public meeting.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
Second that, Madam Chair.
Seconded by Commissioner Barker. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the October 19, 2023 meeting minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion passes. Mr. Said, please announce the next item.
Next on the agenda is the Chair's report.
Thank you. At the top, I want to note that there are a couple of changes to the agenda. One is the rule adoption for the cannabis consumption area. That is being postponed and will be reconsidered at a later date. And there are also no adult use cannabis business license renewals on the agenda for today. So apologies for that inclusion in error. Want to note a couple of items now that we are at the end of the year. So in January, I highlighted a few items that folks can anticipate coming from the commission this year, including finalizing the new regulations for personal use cannabis businesses, a continued expansion of the medicinal cannabis program, and more adult use cannabis businesses opening up. And so I'm proud to say that we did that and more. We also proposed rules for clinical registrants. We've opened the applications for the last 3 classes of adult use licenses. We've expanded edible products for both patients and adult use consumers and launched a robust safe use public messaging campaign. So I want to thank staff for their indispensable work to make those things a reality. Our legal, compliance and investigations, licensing, outreach, customer service, and I teams make it all a reality. We've also made clear that the N.J.A.C board will hold businesses accountable for their actions when they don't follow the rules. As the Board of Commissioners is responsible for setting regulatory policies for the cannabis industry, we put the Commission's rules in place for a reason, to say what we mean and mean what we say. So as 2023 comes to a close, I do want to note some of the impacts of the board's votes over the last 2.5 years. Today marks the 33rd public meeting for public participation and transparency in the agency's actions. We've quadrupled the size of the medicinal cannabis industry. We are now at nearly 50 dispensaries at which patients can get medical cannabis. We've approved more than 1,600 total adult use cannabis business licenses, including more than 300 annual licenses, 12 location changes, 6 ownership changes, 65 expansions of alternative treatment centers, and more than 800 conditional license extensions to help businesses move towards getting an annual license application in. In 2024, we'll continue building on our successes thus far. So we'll look to mirror the accessibility and inclusion concepts of our adult use regulations in our medical regulations. We'll also look to align the medical permits and adult use licenses for our expanded ATCs, which will dramatically improve the renewal process for both the businesses and the commission. We're also developing written policies that explain the commission's approach to compliance and enforcement, so that it establishes when and how regulatory violations are documented, reflects the idea that some violations rightly warrant a supportive response from the agency to encourage compliance, and manages both internal and external expectations about how regulatory issues are addressed. So as I mentioned before, transparency and accountability are vital to the successful implementation of the Commission's rules, and ultimately to realizing the vision of having a cannabis industry that is safe and with responsible operators. Our investigators take the time to interview complainants, review evidence, and put together detailed reports, and the board recognizes these efforts and takes investigators' assessments seriously. So my hope is that this written policy on our approach to compliance and enforcement will be finalized and implemented very soon. And I will leave you lastly with a few reminders for our applicants. First and foremost, when it comes to the applications themselves, please remember to answer every question fully and completely. Bless you. Too many times, the board receives applications that are incomplete or have conflicting information. When this happens, the board has to request and wait for supplemental information from you, the applicant. So this can lead to delays in processing and approving your application. The fastest way to get your application approved is to fill out the application completely and correctly the first time you submit it. At the insistence of the board, the Commission is updating the disclosure forms that are part of the applications to clarify the information that applicants need to provide. So look for those on our website when they are ready. Secondly, and lastly, the Commission still currently has a lot of inactive applications just sitting in our application portal and unable to advance through the approval process because businesses aren't responding to N.J.A.C staff when they reach out to fix deficiencies in their applications. So applicants, please, please, please ensure your contact information is up to date and correctly listed in your application. Check your spam folders and your voicemail. We do still use telephones, yes. And contact the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, the Office of Licensing, or your assigned investigator if you have questions about how to fix a deficiency in your application. We want to make sure that everyone who submits an application gets to see that application move forward in the review approval process, and we can only do that when you help us make sure that your application is full and complete. That is all that I have for today's chair's report.
Next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report.
Director Brown, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So today I'm going to cover a couple things. Number one, a licensing update. I'm going to also provide some information regarding sales for the third quarter of 2023, as well as look back at the last year and some of the statistics we see in the market, and then also look at a snapshot of our medicinal cannabis program. So here we have a map showing and listing some of the recent license approvals. These are businesses that have passed inspection and been issued their licenses. You can see a list of new recreational only dispensaries. These include Camden Apothecary, Soul Flora, Hackettstown Dispensary, The Cannabis Place, 1634 Funk, Pure Blossom, new expansions into recreational, Downtown Flower, Garden State Botanicals, Yuma Way, and there are more. And then we have new medicinal only dispensaries that have opened up, Montverde and Red Bank, and not listed here, but expected to be opening at the end of the month is Sanctuary Medicinals. Next slide, please. Looking at licensing, we have now received close to 2,400 total applications. Of those 2,400, 1,650 have been approved. There are 293 applications still under review in the Office of Licensing. 138 of those are pending resubmission following a cure. That means they've been issued a letter noting what they have to do to move forward in the process and have not yet responded. And there are 217 applications under review in the Office of Compliance and Licensing. To date, we've issued just one shy of 1,300 conditional licenses, 208 conditional to annual conversions, 142 annuals, and 68 expanded ATCs. And the last number is the total number of licenses, not operating licenses. Operating licenses would just be conditional to annual, and expanded ATCs. But in total, that's over 1,700 licenses issued by the CRC. Today, we have a slate of 27 conditional applications, 24 conditional to annual conversion applications, 9 annual applications, and I believe 4 expanded ATCs. And next, I'm going to turn to a look at sales for the last year, and particularly for the third quarter of 2023. I have some good news. The New Jersey's market continues to grow. For the first time in history, legal cannabis sales in New Jersey eclipsed $200 million in the third quarter of 2023. That includes just shy of $177 million of adult use sales and just shy of $30 million of medicinal sales. We continue to see medicinal sales come down slightly over time, and then we continue to see adult use sales grow over time. In total, we're seeing at this point about 10% growth in the market quarter over quarter. So that's $750 million in total cannabis sales in the last year. Looking month to month, this is a list of the 2023 year to date through the end of October. You can see we started out with just shy of $50 million in adult use sales in January and ended October just shy of $60 million in total sales. So as more dispensaries open up, as more businesses serve the market, we're seeing more consumers come into the legal market and purchase legal cannabis. And adult use sales for the year, and this doesn't include medicinal, at the end of October, we're at about $550 million. So looking at price too, which we've looked at before, but the last price update I gave showed that prices were coming down. They continue to gradually come down. We've seen prices drop from, on average, just shy of $14 per gram in January, and in October we ended at about $12.50 per gram. The year-to-date average is $13 per gram, and this is for adult use. Next slide. One interesting piece of data, because we're seeing prices come down, the growth in overall sales numbers, so when we look at total sales revenue, it's gone up 27%. But when we look at the number of, or the percentage of the difference sold in total grams of product, that's actually increased by 40%. So because prices are starting to come down, the growth in total sales is not reflective of the total growth of the market. We are seeing, year to date, 40% growth in sales when it comes to grams. So, that shows that as prices come down, more and more people are coming into the legal market and are purchasing legal cannabis. Next slide. Here we see a breakdown of adult use sales mixed by product category. Flower continues to be the most popular product category. About just over 40% of all sales are flower. Just shy of 30% are vape cartridges. That's second highest purchase. And edibles come in third, just shy of 15%. Looking forward to 2024, we expect to see that edible category grow, especially since the Commission approved a set of edible rules that are now going through the public comment process, and also some waivers that have expanded the ability for businesses to produce edibles. Some of the lesser popular product categories are concentrates, pre-rolls at about 10%, and shake and trim, and capsules and pills under 1%. Turning to the medicinal program, we continue to see patient enrollment come down month over month. We still have, I think today, 93,000 patients, but that's a drop from over 120,000 patients in September of 2022. So we are seeing people drop out of the medicinal program. We have an agenda item today that we'll get to in a little bit that should hopefully incentivize patients to stay in the medicinal program. But as adult use sales are available, we're seeing the patient rolls come down slightly over time. Additionally, the sales lessening as well. I think our high point for medicinal sales was $60 million, or just shy of $60 million before adult use was launched, and we're now at about $30 million. So this is our current snapshot of patient enrollment: 93,924 patients enrolled in the program, 5,372 caregivers, and 1,538 healthcare practitioners serving patients. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board regarding the information presented? Commissioner Barker.
Thank you for that update, Executive Director Brown. As you alluded to, as Madam Chair alluded to, there has been significant expansion in the last 8 to 10 months. I believe the slide said more than 70 medicinal and recreational dispensaries across 18 counties. So hat tip to the work that you and staff are doing. I believe, and I will get this exact, but I believe since March 2023, there have been about 40 or 50 operational cannabis businesses open in New Jersey. My question is, can staff please share how many of those businesses are majority owned by Black, Indigenous, and Hispanic people?
Yeah, so I would just point that, we did our full quarterly report in September on majority ownership in awardees. We have not compiled a data update since then, but what we can do is our next quarterly report is in January, and we can look at awardee versus operational. That should be pretty easy to put together. So while I don't have that data today, I would refer you back to the September numbers for overall ownership of awardees, and then when we report those numbers out again in January, we can look at operational versus versus still in process.
Thank you. And I'll review those numbers again from September, but I think my specific request is, and I'll memorialize this in an email, I'm going to get the exact number of businesses that have been open since March. I believe that we had about 20-something for a while. We've been accelerating that. We may be beyond 70 by the end of the year. My question is, for the 40 or 50 businesses that have opened since March, how many of those businesses are Black, Indigenous, or Hispanic majority ownership? And I think it's imperative that we understand and monitor whether Black, Indigenous, and Hispanic majority-owned applicants are receiving an equitable share of the awards that are being granted. So I understand if you don't have that information today, we can address it at a subsequent meeting.
Yeah, I think when we looked at the awards in September, we were outpacing population for Black or African American, and I believe Asian ownership, and we were, I believe, not consistent with population for Hispanic or Latino, and I'm not sure from the others, but that report looked at all of the awardees, both majority ownership, total number of persons of interest against all persons of interest in the industry, and happy to break that out in January by those that are operating and who have been issued a license versus those who are still in the implementation process.
Thank you, Executive Director.
Any other questions from the board regarding the information provided?
One more question. Do you see a significant increase in craft and local cultivation awardees in 2024?
We don't have a regulatory definition for craft. I could tell you that, certainly, cannabis connoisseurs are a discerning bunch. And, I would look to, consumers to determine whether or not, craft cannabis is taking hold in New Jersey. I think our framework for licensing for prioritizing, small independent businesses is working. My hope is that, we continue to see quality increase, continue to see price drop.
If there's nothing further, then Mr. Saeed, please, we'll move on to the next agenda item.
Next item on the agenda is the Permitting and Licensing Committee report.
And so I'll be giving today's committee report for the Permitting and Licensing Committee. We do have Commissioner Del Cid Coso joining us remotely via phone. And so at various points, I will ask Commissioner Del Cid Coso if she wants to add anything throughout the committee report. So for the extension requests received in October and November that have been reviewed by the committee, we have 176 that have been granted for a grand total of more than 800 conditional license extensions granted this year. And so if you are in need of an extension of your conditional license, go to our website under the Cannabis Businesses tab. On the right-hand side, circled in red, you'll see the form for requesting an extension. And please, when you are submitting that form, make sure that you are including any attachments that you need to provide further explanation of your situation or documentation that you want to provide the committee so that the committee can make a decision. Next slide, please. Sometimes technology does not want us to win. While we're waiting for that, I'll state that at the last board meeting, I did report that some of the top reasons for, there we go. Some of the top reasons, well, no, guess not. Yeah, some of the top reasons that businesses were requesting extensions, those being municipal approval delays, lack of or delays with site control, and issues with getting sufficient funding. The approximate number of businesses that are requesting extensions in October and November, we see those numbers not budging very much. So nearly 70% of businesses with conditional licenses are needing extensions because of issues with getting municipal approval. And a little more than half of them are still having issues with getting site control or property for their businesses. And again, these two items are mandated by statute. And so businesses have to secure both municipal approval and property control before they submit their application for an annual license to the CRC. Some of the top municipalities in which licensees are waiting for town decisions in October and November were Jersey City and Newark. We do see a lot of other municipalities across the state, both in the northern, central, and southern regions that are having longer municipal approval processes that businesses are getting caught up in. And at this point, I want to ask Commissioner Del Cid Coso if she has anything else to add before we move on.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I would just like to mention again, as you mentioned earlier, that we are seeing again and again that delays of municipal approvals is a common reason for extension requests made by the awardees. So we are seeing that as, if not one of our top issues, that awardees are making these extension requests to the commission. I do want to take this time to remind people to submit their extension requests, their form 15 days prior to their respective deadline. This deadline is very important to us internally just because it gives the committee an additional time to make any inquiries for additional information from the awardees. So that's very important to us. And finally, I would just like to take the time to thank the staff that has been assisting us with the committee for the last year. Your commitment to our mission doesn't go unnoticed. So again, thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Moving on, I do want to address a request that Commissioner Nash made at the last board meeting with an assessment or an analysis of those businesses that are being approved for extensions. And so I believe, Commissioner Nash, you asked for information about how many of these businesses were social equity businesses. And as the Permitting and Licensing Committee reviewed the information that we had, we did not have the ability to readily generate that number of social equity businesses. It would require us opening up all 800 extensions to the applications for 800 extensions to discern whether those were social equity businesses. However, we do have a breakdown of micro businesses versus standard businesses and the type of, the classification of licenses that are being sought by these businesses. So I did want to share at least the information that we do have available. So of the extensions that have been approved, about 41% of them are micro businesses, with approximately 58% being standard businesses. And among the classes of licenses, about a quarter, 25% of the extensions, the conditional licenses that are being extended are for cultivators. 14% are for manufacturers, and 70% are for retailers. So these are the numbers that we were able to readily assess from the data that we had. But the Permitting and Licensing Committee is constantly thinking about its extension request form and how we can improve that to make sure that we are making data analysis, quantitative data analysis possible for us. And then lastly, as we come to the end of the Permitting and Licensing Committee's report, we did want to note that there are a number of adult use annual license awardees who are approaching their operational deadline. So these are businesses who have had their applications approved for an annual or conversion by the Board of Commissioners, and now are approaching their deadline as stipulated in the regulations. You have 365 days from approval to request your final on-site assessment, and that is what is the benchmark to let us know that you are ready to be operational. You are ready to open your doors and finally commence your business activities as a licensed cannabis business. So in this month, the month of December, we have 11 businesses that are coming up on their operational deadline. We have 12 businesses that are coming up on their operational deadline in January. 22 are coming up on their operational deadline in February, and 17 are coming up on their operational deadline in March. Again, we have 11 businesses whose deadline is at the end of this month to request that final on-site assessment. 12 have a deadline in January, 22 have a deadline in February, and 17 have a deadline in March. So if you are in this bucket, if you are in this group of businesses and you are approaching your deadline, you feel like you don't have enough time to complete everything that you need to complete, be it construction, renovation, getting final permits from the municipality or what have you, please follow the process to request an extension. As Commissioner Del Cid Coso mentioned, getting that in at least 15 days in advance is critical. And so we want to make sure that all of these businesses are aware that they are coming up on their deadlines, and there's an avenue to get an extension if you need it. Please utilize these options that we're making available for you. Commissioner Del Cid Coso, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, you covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? So that's it for the Permitting and Licensing Committee report. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Said, I will turn it back over to you.
Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the schedule for regular meetings for year 2024.
Thank you. Director Brown, would you like to provide any summary remarks? If not, I will turn it over to Vice Chair to talk through the proposed schedule.
Madam Chair, I have no remarks. We're obviously supportive of the schedule. Looks good.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Want to put it up? Very good. So as everyone can see up on the board, this is the 2024 schedule. All regular scheduled meetings will be at 44 South Clinton Avenue here in Trenton, and all meetings will start at 11 a.m. promptly. For the January 17th meeting, it's going to be a virtual meeting. As you can see through the schedule, every meeting date except for the January 17th meeting and the May 8th meeting will be on Thursday. The January 17th meeting is Wednesday, and the May meeting on May 8th is also a Wednesday. And that's all I have, Madam Chairwoman. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Indeed it is. Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board?
A brief comment, Madam Chair?
Comment or question?
No question.
Oh, okay. If you have a comment, by all means, and then we'll move to then I'll ask for a motion.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso, just give me, I'll come to you in one moment. Commissioner
Madam
Barker?
Chair, I can wait till you make a motion and then ask if there are any questions after the motion before we vote.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner Barker. Commissioner Del Cid Coso.
Want to ask Commissioner Vice Chair Delgado if there was no meeting in August, and is he 100% sure about the schedule?
Well, Commissioner Del Coso, as you can see, there is no meeting in August. However, you know, the commission can always place a meeting in August if one needs to be done. Just like we can place a meeting, schedule a meeting in November if it needs to be done. But right now, there is no August meeting, nor is there a November meeting in 2024.
I noticed that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid. Any other questions from the board regarding the information that Vice Chair Delgado shared? Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept the 2024 meeting schedule.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado and seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Brief discussion, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Barker, go ahead.
We know, and we've heard from the public and from experience, that businesses need as many opportunities as possible to move through the process. And so I hope we can reconsider scheduling a meeting at least once every month to continue to move applicants along. I wish we could have included it during this motion, and I hope we are open to amending the schedule before we get to those months where there is no meeting scheduled. Thank you.
So Commissioner Barker, are you moving to amend the schedule?
I mean, I'm not, because I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I don't believe I have the votes. So I'm willing to go back to the table at the office and see if we can get this course corrected and put it on the table at a subsequent meeting in front of the public. I don't want to just make a motion for the sake of making a motion, but I do want to express, and I think the public has expressed to us, and we have been down this road. It's important to have a meeting every month. Applicants are waiting, they're burning cash. And for us to not be meeting and to hold them up, I think we should reconsider that.
All right. So that's a comment. It's not you're not moving to amend the motion. Okay. All right, so with that, is there any further discussion on this motion to accept the 2024 schedule? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Nay.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda are regulatory requirement waivers.
Thank you, and here we have two, I believe, yes, two regulatory requirement waivers for the board to consider. So I will turn to Director Brown for any summary remarks. Oh, apologies, just one waiver, my apologies, I misspoke. There's only one regulatory requirement waiver under consideration. Director Brown, please provide, the floor is yours for any remarks.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. You know, dating back to 2018, when the governor issued his sixth executive order asking the Department of Health to look at ways to improve access to the medicinal cannabis, at the time, medicinal marijuana program, we've looked for ways to do just that, to help patients enroll, help them stay enrolled, and help them access the medicine that many of them rely on. In the EO6 response, the Department of Health reduced fees for enrollment. At the time, they were $200 for every 2 years, or $20 if you qualified for a reduced fee that was limited to people on government assistance. At the Department of Health, we then reduced that 2-year fee to $100, cut it in half, and expanded eligibility for the reduced fees to include seniors and veterans. This board approved further reductions in, I believe it was the summer of 2022, reducing that $100 fee to $50 and keeping that $20 fee for reduced fee cards in that expanded eligibility group. Now that sales are improving, there's more revenue coming in as far as fees and other things. We can continue to look at our fees for patients and caregivers and make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure people can access the medicinal cannabis program. And so before you have a further waiver to reduce fees, to reduce registration fees for all patients to $10. And that, if approved, that would take effect today at 5 p.m. So there are probably some patients who are waiting to pay in the registry. I would encourage you to wait till after 5 p.m. We'll update all the fees to make sure they're set to the new fee if approved. And then in early 2024, the other piece of this waiver, we expect to roll out digital identification cards in the patient registry. As many of you may know or not, we created a new, thanks to a team of folks who worked on it, launched a new patient portal. Previously, that's going to enable us to create digital-only ID cards. That reduces staff time needed to print those cards. It reduces staff time needed to review. And so corresponding with the release of those digital ID cards in early 2024, if a patient or a caregiver opts for a digital ID card, it will be free. There will be no cost from the CRC to process that. There will continue to be a $10 fee for those who opt for a physical card. There will certainly be some people who opt to do that. For example, there are states that offer reciprocity. Sometimes you need to have a physical card in order to do that. But if you're just accessing the market here, you will be able to get a free digital ID card with your registration. We hope that this further reduces costs for patients, helps them stay enrolled in the program if they can benefit from medicinal cannabis. And this waiver is recommended for approval.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board regarding the information provided?
Yeah, I have one question.
Vice Chair Delgado.
Director Brown, on the digital IDs, are they perpetual, or do they have to re-up every couple of years?
No, they'll still have to renew every 2 years like a regular card, but they'll be able to renew with a digital ID card.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Director Brown? Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the waiver.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barker and seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the waiver? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Before I cast my vote, I would just like to say that 4 years ago, I recall sitting in the legislative committee, listening to Jake Honig's father share the obstacles that their family faced as their 7-year-old son battled brain cancer. And then again, in the summer of 2019, I heard him speak as Governor Murphy signed the Jake Honig Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act. Many of the medical reforms are thanks to the Jake Honig Act, and I admit that we still have a lot of work to do ahead of us, and in order for us to improve the medical program. And I am proud to support this. Today's waiver is for Jake Honig and the 93,000 patients that are currently enrolled. So my vote is yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda are the advisory notices on regulatory policy.
Thank you. And here we have two advisory notices that are under consideration. So the first being with respect to alternative treatment center permits and the renewal of such. So Director Brown, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to cover both because they're very similar, and then the commission can proceed to vote. And this really just codifies, practice for any number of years. Honestly, predates me under DOH. They're medicinal permits, and then there are testing laboratory licenses. And pursuant to their corresponding regulations, they are on the calendar year. When a business or a testing laboratory becomes operational during a calendar year, there's a partial year, essentially permit or license. And so, what past practice has been is to not require that full renewal, including submission of renewal forms and everything required by regulation until there's been a full year on that permit. And actually, there's a regulation that states a permit shall be in effect for 1 year. These advisory, policies just codify that as it pertains to medicinal cannabis permits and testing laboratory licenses. So, if a testing laboratory or ATC is issued a permit today, that first renewal, even though the 365 days wouldn't be up until, 12/7/2024, they would get some extra time before that full renewal is necessary. Madam Chair, as you noted, as we look to update regulations, both medicinal and make updates to adult use, we're going to look at this issue and try to get it in line so it's more manageable for all. But this just acknowledges what that practice is and the fact that, on that initial year, you're not going to get a partial year. You'll get a full year and then plus whatever that extra is before that renewal occurs. So this is recommended. These advisory advisory notices on regulatory policy are recommended for approval here. Just codify the practice, and so that everybody's on the same page as to how we move forward as it pertains to both medicinal cannabis, alternative treatment center permits, and testing laboratory licenses.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board regarding the information provided? Hearing none, we will start with the first being the advisory notice with respect to renewal of the alternative treatment center permits. Is there a motion on that matter?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the approval renewal process for the newly permitted medical cannabis businesses.
Moved by Commissioner Del Cid Coso to approve,
I second.
seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the advisory notice? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Now, with respect to the renewal of the testing laboratory licenses, is there a motion on that advisory notice?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the renewal process for the testing laboratory process.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado, seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there a second? I'm sorry. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the advisory notice? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of applications for name changes.
Thank you. Director Brown, I'll turn it over to you to describe, to provide remarks on those applications for name changes received.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The commission has 6 name changes up for consideration. They've, filed with the Secretary of State, filed with us. They're all recommended for approval, and the next slide shows the list of those old names and the new names in bold. So they're recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on, I'm sorry, are there any questions from the board for Director Brown regarding the information provided? No questions. So is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the applications to change the business name.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barker and seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
I'm going to vote yes. However, I will ask staff with respect to the Goldfinch Wellness LLC that is seeking to change their name to the Green Pony Dispensary, to confirm with the business that the display of that name will not be in a manner that is enticing to children, given the actual name that is being used. So my vote is yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of applications for location changes.
Thank you. Director Brown, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the board has before it an application for a location change from Send, a Class 5 retailer, as well as a medicinal cannabis dispensary. It's currently located at 395 Bloomfield Avenue in Montclair. They have applied to move that location to 325 N.J.A.C 215 North in Wharton. Both those locations are in the northern region. They've submitted the requisite documentation for the location change. Process-wise, if approved, there will obviously be some time. It will take some time to actually shift operations. We'll make sure that, any patients being served are adequately noticed, and that, things are transferred in an orderly manner. But Ascend has applied to make this business decision, and they've submitted everything that they are required to submit, and we are recommending this location change for approval.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board regarding the information Director Brown provided? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the location change for Sen located in Montclair to Walton, New Jersey.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the location change?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So this is just something to consider. When I was reviewing the materials, I noticed that there is a 25-mile distance between the old and the new location. And also the proposed location is in a whole different county than the original one. Again, this is a business decision that was made. However, I do hope that these entities are having conversations with the employees ahead of time so that they can restructure or employees can plan ahead of these changes, right? Because we don't know, but some employees may depend on public transportation to get to their jobs. So an additional 30 minutes from their location, from the original location could be an issue for those employees. So just for planning purposes, I do hope that these businesses are having conversations with their employees about, what changes are coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Staying.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu,
I agree and echo Commissioner Del Cid Coso's comments regarding making sure businesses are communicating with their workers and accommodating their workers as appropriate. With that, my vote is yes.
the motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of medicinal cannabis business permit renewals.
Director Brown, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as we just went over with the advisory notice regarding permit renewals, we have two cohorts of alternative treatment centers up for renewal for calendar year 2024. Their permits do run on the calendar year. There's those that have been in operation for more than 1 year, who are required to submit the full renewal application and required fees, and then those who are operational less than 1 year. All of those who have been operational less than 1 year came in through the 2019 RFA, and fees were collected for that RFA to cover the cost of the first full year of permit issuance. For the first cohort, again, that full pursuant to regulation, that the full application, renewal application is required. The regs say to renew an permit, they have to submit that application, pay the fees. And then those operational less than 1 year, staff did, make sure they were still compliant with post-award conditions, particularly for the 2019 RFA. In the memo for commissioners, the locations are noted, as well as staff's assessment for what they, completeness of their submissions, whether or not there are any unresolved enforcement actions, and, looked at, made sure they all had active labor peace agreements. So there are in total 32 up for renewal here. There are 15 in operation for more than 1 year, and 17 in operation for less than 1 year. Those 17, all 32 will have to do a full renewal next year. They are all recommended for approval. They are all, in staff's opinion, in compliance. We don't have any unresolved enforcement actions pending against any of them. And we do recommend all 32 to be renewed.
Thank you. And is the list of businesses, there we go, perfect, thank you. And so some of these businesses do have multiple locations, and the Director Brown, just for clarification, all of the locations that are represented by these entities are being up for renewal?
That's correct. Under the medicinal rules, the permit is renewed as a whole. And so there are vertically integrated entities on this list. And so, essentially the renewal application is for renewal of all of those locations.
Yes, Commissioner Nash.
For Director Brown. So you cannot separate out one of the facilities from an entity because they're vertically integrated, correct?
I'm going to have to consult Chief Counsel.
That's correct. They're entity-specific, not location-specific under the medical rules.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? With that, is there a motion on this matter? Is there a motion on this matter?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve all 32 listed medical permits that were presented to us.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado to approve all 32 businesses. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Nash.
I would like to make a motion to separate, to consider Columbia Care separately.
So Commissioner Nash, you are moving to remove from consideration at this immediate time, the application for permit renewal for Columbia Care New Jersey LLC. The current motion on the floor is to approve all of them. So at present, we would need to either entertain a motion to amend the current motion on the floor, or if the motion that's currently on the floor fails, then the floor will be open to any motion.
Yes, so I would like to consider Columbia Care at this meeting in a separate motion.
So you would like to amend the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please state, just for clarity, what the amended motion would be? The motion presently on the floor is to approve all 32 businesses that, as recommended, and you are seeking to amend that motion?
Yes, I am seeking to deny that motion for approval for a renewal.
But if we're looking to amend the motion, what would you like the motion to then be? To not approve all 32, but to approve as 30?
To approve all 32. Continue with 31, yes, 31.
So the motion is to amend the prior motion to approve 31 businesses for their medical permit renewal, with the exception, and not Columbia Care New Jersey LLC.
Yes,
To consider that separately?
Mhm.
To consider it separately, or?
To consider separately, as she said.
Yes.
Right, because you said not.
All right. So a motion has been made to approve 31 businesses for permit renewal and to consider Columbia Care, the permit renewal of Columbia Care New Jersey LLC separately.
That is correct.
Thank you. There's been a motion to amend. Is there a second on this motion to amend the prior motion such that it is to approve 31 businesses for permit renewal, but to consider Columbia Care New Jersey LLC separately? I will second the motion. Is there any discussion on this motion to amend Vice Chair Delgado's original motion? Hearing no discussion. Mr. Said, on the motion to amend the prior motion so that it is now to approve 31 businesses for permit renewal and to consider Columbia Care New Jersey LLC separately, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
No.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. So the motion on the floor currently is as amended to approve 31 businesses for their permit renewal and to consider Columbia Care New Jersey LLC separately. So,
For some instruction.
all right, so any discussion on this motion to approve 31 business permits for renewal? All of those indicated by Director Brown, except for Columbia Care New Jersey LLC. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the remaining 31? Hearing no discussion with Mr. Said on the motion to approve 31 businesses for permit renewal. So all those recommended by staff except for Columbia Care New Jersey LLC. Can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Madam Chair, could you clarify the motion again?
Sir,
Are we saying that we're denying Columbia Care, or I just want clarification if you don't mind?
not a problem. The motion is to move forward with considering 31 business permits for renewal as one, and to consider Columbia Care New Jersey LLC separately. So whether to do this all in one, so in essence, the motion currently on the floor is, do we want to break out Columbia Care New Jersey LLC? Vote first on the group of 31, and then vote on, or then consider the application for Columbia Care New Jersey.
Got it. Yeah, my vote is yes.
Mr. Said, can you please continue with the vote?
so I'm going to start over, just so we're clear.
Certainly.
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right. So now that we have separated consideration of these businesses, first will be with respect to 31 businesses for permit renewal. Is there a motion with respect to 31 businesses?
We just voted on it.
No, we voted to actually separate them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So now we have to actually vote on these two
Approval,
groups. Correct. Is there a motion with respect to 31 businesses, not including Columbia Care, New Jersey LLC?
I make a motion to consider the 31 businesses, the ATCs, for renewal.
And by to consider them, do you mean to approve them for renewal?
Yes.
Okay. So Commissioner Nash moves to approve 31 ATCs for the permit renewal. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Sade Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve 31 ATC permit renewals? Hearing no discussion with respect to the 31 ATCs for permit renewal, not including Columbia Care, New Jersey, LLC. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Before I cast my vote, I want to point to the regulations and the law that the Cannabis Regulatory Commission works under. So N.J.A.C. 17:30A-7.7 states that the commission may deny the application for renewal of the permit if the applicant is non-compliant with the applicable local rules, ordinances, and/or zoning requirements, or if the commission determines that the facility is in violation of the N.J.A.C. Act or this particular chapter of regulations. Now, I want to point to that because it seems that there are quite a few businesses that have not met the statutory requirements with respect to collective bargaining agreements as articulated in the N.J.A.C. Act. The law states very clearly the failure to enter into a collective bargaining agreement within 200 days after the date that a medical cannabis operator first opens shall result in the suspension or revocation of such permit or conditional permit. I'm pointing to this because at present, with the information that the board has received thus far, it seems that there are several businesses who might be in violation of that provision of the statute. The board has requested staff to assess the conditions on the ground. We've also consulted with our legal counsel. And so the board may take action based on this statutory language at a later date. But I want to point to it now because it is important and it has come up, and this board has made it very clear what its position is on maintaining the statutory and regulatory requirements that have been put in place. Because again, it is important for us as an agency to say what we mean and mean what we say. With that stated, my vote is yes to approve the 31 ATC permit renewals.
The motion passes.
So now we turn to the remaining ATC for consideration, Columbia Care, New Jersey. Is there a motion related to that entity?
Madam Chair, I move to consider Columbia Care's renewal application.
By consider, do you mean approve?
No.
No. What do you, What would you like this motion to be with respect to Columbia Care?
Deny.
There is a motion to deny Columbia Care New Jersey LLC's application for permit renewal. Is there a second on this motion to deny? Again, I'll ask for a second on this motion to deny. All right, there's no second, so this motion fails. Is there a motion with respect to the pending matter of Columbia Care New Jersey LLC?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Del Cid.
I move to approve Columbia Care with stipulations that will be addressed in the FAD.
All right, Commissioner Del Cid Coso has moved to approve Columbia Care New Jersey LLC with stipulations.
Stipulations and conditions that will be addressed in the FAD.
Thank you. Stipulations and conditions addressed in the final agency decision. Is there a second on this motion? I'll second the motion and ask that Commissioner Del Cid Coso identify any stipulations or conditions that she might have in mind at present.
I believe there were some concerns that the board had in terms of the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, and some of the LPA conditions. And we wanted to, one, gather more information, and two, allow the awardee to, allow the licensee to provide that information to the board as soon as possible.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on this motion to approve Columbia Care New Jersey LLC's permit renewal with stipulations and conditions that will be addressed in the final agency decision?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a statement.
Commissioner Nash, the floor is yours.
I motion to separate the application of Columbia Care, a sophisticated multi-state operator making millions in revenue here in New Jersey. I don't believe that in my opinion, I don't believe they're respecting their workers, or they're choosing to ignore the specific legislation of the J.A.C. law, which protects those workers. I could spend an hour reviewing the labor laws from the J.A.C. Act and the twisted methods employed to avoid them. The bottom line, based on the many reports that I have reviewed, in my view, the workers of Columbia Care voted to be represented by UFCW. Notwithstanding that vote, the applicant has not bargained in good faith with that union. It hasn't even come to the table. And that is a direct violation of the J.A.C. law and its explicit labor mandates. I have always made my position very clear, as some of you may know. If an applicant steps on a New Jersey's workers' rights, I will always vote no. And that is my vote here. I cede the floor back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Any additional discussion? I want to reiterate, just as I did on the last matter, that the commission has the regulatory authority to deny medical permits if the applicant is non-compliant with applicable local rules, ordinances, and/or zoning requirements, or if the commission determines that the facility is in violation of the J. Act or the Chapter 30A of the Administrative Code. And I want to underscore again, J. Act explicitly states the failure to enter into a collective bargaining agreement within 200 days after that medical cannabis operator first opens shall result in the suspension or revocation of such permit or conditional permit. This agency needs to say what it means and mean what it says. That is the only way that a regulated industry can have some level of confidence in what will be forthcoming. I understand staff's position, and I thank staff for their time in collecting materials and information from the businesses, from all 32 businesses that are up for a permit renewal today. I think the statute is quite clear, and I think the regulations are clear in that the commission has in its authority, is well within its authority to verify that the act, the J. Koenig law, is being adhered to. These businesses, many of these businesses, not all of them, but many of them have been operational for several years. J. Koenig's Act was signed in 2019. This is not a new requirement. So while the commission is just now presented with the opportunity, the board is just now presented with the opportunity to look through these medical permit renewals, the law is not new. And so I want to just underscore that point. This agency needs to say what it means and mean what it says. And I intend to do the same. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Director Brown, you wish to provide comment? Yes.
Just quickly, I did just want to reiterate staff's recommendation to approve Columbia Care. They understand the board has concerns. As previously shared, they serve 5,000 active patients, I think 8,000 patients total. And I would just urge the board to take them into consideration with all the factors. And, our recommendation stands to approve Columbia Care's renewal.
Thank you, Director Brown. Any further discussion? Vice Chair Delgado.
There seems to be a disconnect between the staff and the board. So I just want Director Brown to help me understand why, what did you base your approval on, considering that Commissioner Nash here, there seems to be a consensus on the board that they're not in compliance. So why are you saying they are? Obviously, your opinion is that they are in compliance because you recommended it. And on this side of the house, there seems to be a question about whether they are or not.
Yeah, I mean, I would just
explain it.
I would just refer, the board we covered, in executive session. I don't want to really delve into my comments made there because it's protected. I would say, staff's thorough review of the entity, the documentation submitted, the compliance record, we balance of all those factors, still recommend for them for approval. I'm glad the board is considering approving with conditions rather than denial. I think denial could really create some, extenuating circumstances for some, very vulnerable individuals that are served by Columbia Care. So, it would be far more supportive of approval with conditions to address the board's concerns rather than an outright denial. Certainly, staff can work with the board to address those concerns, but I would like to see continued operation here. And we do think on balance, with the regulations that we do have, that, our recommendation is to approve them for renewal. Again, I do want to reiterate, if the board has concerns, our strong recommendation is to address those through a condition on the approval instead of denial.
General Counsel Riggs is not here. I want to ask him the same question, but let's just move on.
Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado. Thank you, Director Brown. I think it is not lost on any of the 5 members of this board the implications that each of our decisions carry. That includes decisions that impact patients who are fighting debilitating conditions and in need of relief. And given that this particular part of the law, statute, has been in place since 2019, I would hope that all businesses are reading the law that affects them and understand and acknowledge the fact that their decisions impact patients, their decisions impact workers who are looking to provide for themselves and their families, and that their decisions impact adult use consumers who have the constitutional right to use and possess cannabis. Any further discussion?
I see the General Counsel's back.
Oh, would you like to pose
Yeah,
the question?
I wanted to ask him the same question I asked Director Brown. It seems, General Counsel Christopher Riggs, there seems to be a disconnect between the staff and the board member and the commissioners. Staff recommended Columbia Care to be approved, their medical to be approved, and we took medical, we just voted to take Columbia Care out of the 32 entities that are supposed to be approved for the medical licenses. What's the disconnect? Why, the question is, you're the General Counsel of this commission. Why was the staff, why did you approve, or why did the staff approve Columbia Care?
Vice Chair.
They are the compliance, that's what I want.
Yeah, if you're seeking legal advice on
Speak
this-
louder, because.
Sorry, if you're seeking legal advice on this, I would recommend that we go into closed session and we can counsel you again on this issue, just as we did in executive session.
Let's just keep going.
Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado. Thank you, Counsel Riggs. Is there any further discussion on this motion to approve Columbia Care New Jersey LLC's permit renewal with stipulations and conditions that will be addressed in their final agency decision? Hearing no further discussion on the motion to approve Columbia Care New Jersey LLC's permit renewal with stipulations and conditions that will be addressed in the final agency decision. Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
As the person who carries the weight of being the last to cast their vote, I have that distinct honor that always gives me joy. As I cast my vote, I want to make it very clear that I believe that this agency, through the staff and the board, have done tremendous good work for patients, for adult use consumers, for entrepreneurs who want to realize their business dreams, and for the broader public who need to see a level of assurances from the government agency that we are taking our duties to expand and build this industry safely and responsibly. For me, it is paramount that our agency operate with integrity, that we, again, I sound like a broken record, say what we mean and mean what we say, and make it very clear to the public, to those regulated entities, so that they know what they can expect from us, and they know what the rules of the road are. For businesses that choose to not abide by the rules of the road, they have to be held accountable for their actions, because those actions affect people. They affect patients, they affect workers, they affect adult use consumers, and they affect public health and public safety. Here, when it comes to the issues of labor rights, everything all right? Okay. I want to see documentation, definitive documentation about what is happening on the ground in these facilities. I know we've sought legal counsel, and our legal counsel needs some time to assess some of the questions that were presented. So I want to give our legal counsel's time to do that assessment thoroughly, completely, so that we can make an informed decision. But nothing in the regulations, nothing in the statute prevents the commission from coming back even after today to underscore the importance of adhering to the law. And so I am challenging my board members and our staff to make sure that we as a collective do that. That we as a collective say what we mean what we say, and hold ourselves and our industry accountable for their actions. With that, my vote is yes.
The motion passes. Next item for consideration is the adult use cannabis business conditional license applications.
Director Brown, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for this, we have a recommendation report covering all three classes, conditional, conditional to conversion, and annual. I'm going to run through all of them and make the recommendation, and then the commission can proceed to vote on the different cohorts. I know that we'll have to, in conditionals, come back to a second cohort, but overall, there are 27 conditional applications, 24 conversions, 9 annuals up for consideration here. For the conditional applications specifically, 5 cultivators, 3 manufacturers. We have, important to note, first of our new classes of licenses. So we have a Class 3 wholesaler, 2 Class 4 distributors, as well as 2 Class 6 delivery services. So these were the applications that we opened up for in September. And so these applications, they've been assessed for priority, assigned a priority based on their qualifications, whether it's social equity business, diversity owned business, impact zone, or otherwise. That priority has been verified. They've been reviewed for completeness. They've been scored. They've all scored sufficiently high for approval. They've been reviewed for qualification limitations and financial management, at least initial for conditional applications. And For the conditional conversion and annual applications, they're reviewed to determine whether or not they qualify as a license holder under our regulations in the statute. We conduct quality control to make sure nothing's missed and that they are indeed compliant, and then they're recommended to the board. So here we have 27 conditional licenses. The breakdown is displayed on the slide, all recommended for approval by the CRC board.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board regarding the information provided? The overall information provided? All right. Hearing no questions. With respect to conditional license applications, sorry, Director Brown, can you reiterate, apologies if I missed this earlier, the recommendation with respect to the conditional license applications?
Sorry, the recommendation is to approve the 27 conditional license applications.
Thank you. So on the matter of 27 conditional license applications before us, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve 27 conditional license applications.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Barker and seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item up for consideration is the adult use cannabis business conversion license applications.
Director Brown, is there any further information you wish to provide?
So these applications, as noted, they followed the process I just outlined. I think there are 24 of them. Yep, all 24 are recommended for approval by the CRC board. And yes, 24 recommended for approval. The breakdown: 4 cultivators, 4 manufacturers, 16 retailers.
Thank you. And do we have a list of the 24?
Yeah, it's on here.
I'll just note the list is also posted online.
Thank you. Yes. Good note. So for those watching at home or wishing to review this list afterwards, it is posted online on our website. If you go to our meetings page, click on the relevant agenda item, that should give you the list of businesses under consideration today. So with respect to the 24 applications, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I moved consideration of the 24 applications to convert from conditional to annual Class 1, cannabis cultivator Class 2, cannabis manufacturer Class 5, and cannabis retail license.
When you say consider, do you mean to approve?
I move to, yes, to approve. That's what I mean.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Is there a second on this motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Brief discussion, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Barker.
Just want to thank the staff for their hard work and ask that we continue to improve on the overall number of cannabis businesses that are being recommended to the board, especially those that are majority owned by Black and Hispanic and Indigenous people, and businesses located in communities that have been most harmed by the failed war on drugs. I really hope that we can dig deep and make significant strides in 24. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question for the director.
Commissioner Nash.
Thank you. Director Brown, now that we've been doing this for a couple years with review of the applications, and staff is like a well-oiled machine. What is the timeline approximately now for people who have submitted for a conversion and assuming there's, no cures to a consideration by the board?
If there's no cures and, it's just smooth sailing and everybody's responsive, timely, et cetera, it can be about 6 months. I think most are in the 6 to 8 month range right now, with, some requests for additional information, potentially some cures. There are certainly, some that could be faster depending on, complexity of the company, as well as, how quickly we can get the information we need, as far as background checks and stuff like that. But I think, if everything's there and it can just move through, we're around 6 months. That said, I think most right now, even with some cures, are in the 6 to 8 or 9 month range for the annuals or conversions. That's accounting for some cures. And you see with the conditionals, we're the first from the new classes, which we didn't start accepting until September 27th, are now being recommended for approval less than 90 days from when they submitted.
Good to hear. Thank you.
And so for those who are on the longer end of that average timeline, remember, fill out your application fully and completely and make sure that your contact information is up to date so that the CRC staff can contact you to get those deficiencies fixed. Any additional discussion on this motion to approve the conversion applications? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
I believe we now turn to the annual licenses. Is that right?
That's
Direct
correct.
to annual?
That's correct,
All right.
Chairwoman.
Director Brown, is there any additional information you wish to provide regarding the applications going straight to the annual license?
Here we have, for consideration by the board, 9 annual licenses, 2 cultivators, 3 manufacturers, 4 retailers. Followed the process that I outlined. All have been deemed complete, scored sufficiently high, deemed qualified by staff, and are recommended for approval. And the list is on the next slide. And there we have the list. It's also posted online. These are all of these annual applications are recommended for approval.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for Director Brown? Hearing no questions, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the annual license applications.
I second.
Moved by Commissioner Barker to approve the annual license applications and seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item for consideration are the expanded alternative treatment center certifications.
All right, Director Brown, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The numbers earlier were wrong. There are only 3 expanded ATC certifications for consideration today. The fourth is being reserved for future meeting once they are operational and can prove they meet the expansion standard. So they're MPX Class 5 retailer in Pennsauken, Montverde Class 5 retailer in Red Bank, and Terrapin Investment Fund Class 5 retailer in Hoboken. We've assessed these against the expansion standards in our regulations and the statute, including making sure they have municipal approval, adequate supply, adequate operational capacity to meet both patient need as well as adult use consumers. All three are recommended approval by the CRC board.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board for Director Brown?
Not for Director Brown, but Madam Chair, just procedurally, are we voting on all three of these as one or three separate?
One by one.
One by one, okay.
All right, so no questions from the board. So with respect to the first MPX, New Jersey LLC, is there a motion with respect to the expansion certification for MPX New Jersey LLC?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept certification for Alternative Treatment Center, MPX New Jersey LLC. To
Second.
expand, yeah, well, to expand the operations for adult personal use cannabis market.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. I believe Commissioner Nash was seconding, is that correct? Moved, seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion with respect to MPX New Jersey LLC, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Next up is Terrapin, I believe. Yes, Terrapin, great. Terrapin Investment Fund 2, Cultivation LLC. What a name. Is there a motion on that matter?
Madam Chair, I motion to approve the certification for Terrapin Investment Fund Cultivation to expand operations to the AU market.
And I second it.
Moved by Commissioner Nash and seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion with respect to Terrapin Investment Fund to Cultivation LLC? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right. And lastly, with respect to Monteverde, N.J.A.C. Inc., is there a motion with respect to their expansion request?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept the certification for Alternative Treatment Center Monteverde, New Jersey, Inc. to expand operations to the adult personal use cannabis market.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Brief discussion, Madam Chair?
Commissioner Barker?
I just want to ask that the ATCs being considered for expansion, in addition to all ATCs that have been previously expanded, please adhere to the FADs, the final agency decisions, there are critical and important reporting requirements to evidence your commitment to our patient population, and we ask that you do not take that lightly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the denial of conversion applications.
Conditional application.
I'm sorry, conditional, my apologies.
All right. Director Brown, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Here we have recommended a number of conditional applications that have been approved but pending for quite some time due to unpaid approval fees. When an application is submitted, they have to submit a submission fee, which is 20% of the total application fee, and then upon approval, pay the approval fee, which is 80% of the application fee. These applications have been pending, I think, range from the most recent is January of this year, and the oldest, date back into, mid-year 2022. They've received multiple notices that they have to pay. So there's 17 applications here. Now, even if denied, they can certainly come right back in and reapply for a conditional license or an annual license when ready. So, if a company's on this list and they can qualify for a conditional or an annual license and want to apply again, they are more than welcome to do so. But there have been unpaid approval fees that have gone unpaid for quite some time. And so we are recommending these for denial. And again, even if denied, these applicants could resubmit if they can qualify for a conditional license or an annual license. But we want to clear out the licensing system. These have been pending for quite some time, have received adequate notice, and therefore are recommended for denial.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board for Director Brown regarding the information provided? Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I moved that we approve the denial for the 17 applicant businesses named in the resolution.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nash. Oh,
Just one clarifying note for the public. You may see some names of businesses on here who are expanded ATCs. In some cases, these applications have been pending because they expanded. They can't qualify for further retail sites. This is not. It doesn't have any bearing on the expanded ATC certification or their operational locations.
thank you for that clarification. Any additional discussion on this motion to deny these 17 applications?
Yeah, I just want to make clear, so it's just for the license class listed on the resolution.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda, we have cases, claims, and petitions.
Excellent, thank you. So I will now turn it over to Chief Counsel Riggs to provide summary remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Similar to the October meeting, we have employees that have undergone a background check and their criminal histories have shown in the medicinal cannabis permittee situation, they have shown that they have a disqualifying conviction. What the statute requires is that we allow them the opportunity to show rehabilitation by showing clear and convincing evidence. There are 5 individuals that have provided that documentation and have shown by clear and convincing evidence that they are rehabilitated, and staff is recommending that we approve rehabilitation and allow them to have an ATC identification card and work in the medicinal cannabis space.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Are there any questions from the board for Counsel Riggs? Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the request for determination of rehabilitation by Alternative Treatment Center employees.
And I second.
Moved by Commissioner Nash and seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Before I cast my vote, I do want to say that I read each and one of the cases, and I commend each one of you for turning your life around. So I commend you for doing that, and my vote is yes.
Commissioner Nash,
I reiterate Commissioner Del Cid Coso's sentiments, and I wish you all the best. Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item up for consideration are the notices of enforcement actions.
Director Brown, I will turn it over to you for a summary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This enforcement action is the one that was tabled from the last October meeting on Terrace End. They received 2 notices of violation, one for, I believe, 5 patient complaints. And following that initial round of complaints, we issued a notice of violation. They submitted a corrective action plan. We're in the process of correcting. There was another instance where Terrace End served essentially had a medical patient purchase off the adult use menu for products that should have been available on the medical menu. So we issued another notice of violation. I covered my recommendation at the last meeting. You know, I don't have anything more to add than that, so I'll just let those comments stand and turn it over to the commission.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the resolution to imposition of sanctions against Terrace End, New Jersey, LLC.
And moved by Commissioner Nash. Now, Commissioner Nash, just some clarity on this motion. What penalty? There's a staff have draft a resolution for us that leave it for the board to actually make a final determination on what the penalty or the sanction would be. So could you clarify for your motion what penalty you would like to see imposed?
Well, I don't want to be arbitrary, and I really would appreciate the input from my colleagues on this. I will say that Terrace End has provided proof of corrective action. However, it appears to be another repeat offense or repeat violation, I should say, of a common occurrence with this particular operator. So I don't have a basis to start with here.
Would you like to withdraw your motion at present?
Yes, I would like to withdraw my motion. Thank you.
No problem. Director Brown?
Just if it would be, I'm happy to reiterate staff's recommendation if it is helpful. Yeah, so our recommendation is no penalty on this one. However, it's obviously up to the board to consider. If the board does choose to institute a penalty, strong recommendation is to adhere to what's in the penalty matrix. So this would be a category 5-2, which I believe is a max of $10,000. But we now have another month of compliance on TerraSen's behalf. I think that, they made a good faith effort to correct and have now corrected, and we have several months of them operating compliantly. And so, as I shared, the goal is compliance. So our recommendation is to not level a penalty here, but I can assure you that our compliance staff is providing ongoing vigilance on this. And so, if it happens again, my opinion would obviously change on any additional NOVs that we have to issue.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Brown? Okay. I'd like to move that the board impose a penalty of $20,000 against TerraSen and N.J.A.C for this, in response to this notice of violation. I believe that notwithstanding I'm happy to hear that TerraSen is doing better. I'm happy to see that they have provided better documentation about their training pursuant to the request that was made. I think the training documentation might not meet the standards that are in the regulations for record keeping, but I'm happy to see improvements from this entity here. And I think for consistency, in the past, the commission has imposed $10,000 per violation for other patient access violations against other entities. At the September board meeting, I believe it was, the board imposed a penalty against TerraSen for $20,000 for each violation for a total of $100,000. I think maintaining the position there is warranted. I think given that the facts around this particular complaint that came in indicate that the issue is not hopefully as rampant as it was previously, as the assigned investigator found. Again, I think some of the efforts from TerraSen to improve their practices and improve their documentation of the training for their staff is a step in the right direction. And so I don't believe that we should be increasing the penalty that was previously imposed on TerraSen in this instance. So I am making a motion. I move to impose a penalty of just $20,000, staying exactly where we were at the last instance that these problems occurred. Is there a second on this motion to impose a penalty of $20,000?
I echo those sentiments, Madam Chair, and I second that motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Barker. Is there any discussion on this motion? I'll say, Vice Chair Delgado?
Why not 40,000? I mean,
Oh,
it says here.
sorry, Vice Chair Delgado, just your microphone. Thank you.
You want to keep consistent. I'm against it, but my question is, why not 40,000? I'm reading this and it says 4 days, 3 days per week and 1 day during the weekend. And that would be category 5, violation 2. That's $10,000. So it should be 10,000 every instance, right? 4 times 10,000 is 40,000. I mean, I'm not going to vote for this, but if you want to be consistent, isn't that what you should do?
Sorry, when you are talking about a number of days, can you clarify what you're, can you clarify, please, what you're referring to?
Yeah, on page 1, the expanded ATC must satisfy, oh, I misread it. My apologies. It's not 4 instances, it's just 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Apologize.
No problem, no problem. Look, that's what, we're here to talk it all out and work through it together. Any further discussion on this motion? Again, I want to thank Terracin for their improvements and for moving in the right direction. I hope we can keep it up so that we don't find ourselves here again. And I'll leave it there. If there's no further discussion, Mr. Said, on the motion to impose a penalty of $20,000, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Abstain.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
I'm going to follow the opinion of staff, and I'm going to say no.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda, we have the open public comment period.
All right, so as we turn to the public comment period, I want to note, just as we always do at every board meeting, that members of the public can submit their comments just during and after this meeting in writing via our website, www.nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. The deadline for submitting written comments for today's board meeting is 5 o'clock tomorrow, Friday, December 8th. Written comments will be shared with the commission members and will be made public. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. A note, the public comment period is meant to give members of the public an opportunity to address the commission about matters that the commission should be aware of. It's not a space for people to simply market or advertise private businesses. Mr. Said will call out the names of our registered speakers. When it is your turn to speak, please come forward and tap the button on the microphone in front of you until you see a green light. And then you will see your time, your 3 minutes. The status of your 3 minutes will appear on this clock over here to your left. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Said to call on our first speakers.
Thank you, Chairwoman. As a reminder, public speakers during this afternoon's public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and concise during your comments. I'm going to call 3 names at a time. Cheryl Murray Powell, Shirali Patel, and Melissa Shade.
Hi. Oh. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Shirali Patel. I'm going to start with the positive. Thank you guys for all the work that you guys have done. And as a state agency, whoever's monitoring the CRC licensing email, God bless, because I don't know any other agency that gives you same-day responses. And that's what applicants and operators really need. So thank you for just being responsive to everybody. Chairwoman, you mentioned accountability. And this is the part that makes me sick to my core because there's no accountability at the local level. The corruption that's happening, nothing's merit-based. I understand discretion, but I have people who've submitted hundreds of pages of applications for consideration that haven't been, not even given a hearing, let alone a reason for denial. There's task force that the U.S. Attorney General and the feds are now, I mean, they've been doing this for a while now, but states like Massachusetts, Michigan, California, mayors have gone to jail for bribery. That's what's happening right here in New Jersey. I don't want to call out specific towns. I know you don't have the jurisdiction to tell them how to dictate, but if you can tell us as a public on who's responsible for what areas, so we can advocate accordingly to the legislature. But something has to be done. Bare minimum education, making them required to do trainings on like how to do these ordinances, how to set up the planning zones, and especially the fact that when local officials are telling you, hey, maybe you should go into this spot, that to me is like, that's not discretionary. That's them telling you which landlord is preferable. And so it's just unheard of in other industries. And I think we need to clean it up because that's what's making people bleed out. They can't convert and they can't find real estate because these municipalities are literally out of control. And then maybe, or maybe there's a time frame by which municipalities have to review and score these applications, because I know that's a holdup, waiting for local approval to convert your licenses. And so just a consideration. And I do want to mention the medical issues at a set ATC, which I will submit through the medical process, but I was waiting in line and autoimmune disorders, they're invisible. So I look perfectly healthy, but on the inside, things are happening. And so when I'm waiting in line and the bud tender tells me, oh, like I got to take her and not the other person, like in front of my face, now you feel like it's a little weird. Like I'm not asking for special priority as a patient. That's the rules. So I don't know if these bud tenders are getting trained on the J. Koenig Act or what medical access is, but I do think that's a concern so that we can continue to prioritize patient access. That was it. So local corruption, something needs to be done, please. And then better training, I think, bud tenders for medical access. And thank you for continuing to monitor emails, responding. Thank you for all the work.
Okay, thank you. Oh, it's already pushed. Hello, my name is Melissa Shade. I am the president and owner of Atlantic City Cannabis. I received my conditional license in March of this year. I will be operating out of 1714 Atlantic Avenue. I am a local resident of that city. I am, as you can see, a minority woman, and I've had many challenges over the last few months in this process. First, I want to thank the commission because you did a great job of advancing my application and getting me through rather quickly. I also want to thank the N.J.A.C because they are giving people like me an opportunity to be a part of this. To the comments of Mr. Barker, I would like to offer myself and my business as someone or a business that you can collaborate and engage with to track and monitor our success in the field. I'm not sure if that's happening. I'm not sure if you have someone that actually identifies that, and by today's comments, you weren't able to provide much information about Black and brown businesses. So I am happy to offer myself to answer any questions, surveys, whatever you might need to help make local businesses like myself become successful. Once again, my name is Melissa Shade. I'm from Atlantic City Cannabis, and I plan to work in an impact zone, and I really would like to make a difference there.
The next three names are Reina Garcia, Lynn Geffen, and Al Camara.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lynn Geffen, Chief Legal Officer at TerraSend. I'm here to speak on behalf of my company, which has been the part of the conversation during the past few meetings. As I mentioned last time, TerraSend takes compliance very seriously. We strive to be an industry leader, and we work diligently to be an outstanding partner to this commission and in our local communities. I am disappointed by the commission's additional fine imposed today, despite the repeated recommendation of Executive Director Brown to the contrary in September, in November, and again today. Further, the violation finally heard today was unable to be investigated since the commission did not provide us with any details surrounding the transaction in question. This did not allow us to do any fact-finding on our own to investigate the issue. TerraSend intends to appeal the decision today, adding this additional ground, just like we appealed the excessive fines received in September. I, along with my colleagues, have decades of experience working with regulators, which is why we remain confused at the series of events that have unfolded this year. Regulators are given a responsibility, but with that responsibility comes duty, honor, and the expectation of due process. Here are the facts. The violations that were decided in September and again today were the result of the same issue, were caused by simple human error, occurred more than 6 months ago, and were fixed immediately. Plus, we understand that the Commission has since created clarifying rules such that the errors would no longer be considered a violation if done today. We struggle with understanding your goal because this isn't a situation of a protracted pattern of non-compliance by a bad actor. TerraSend is a compliant company with an impeccable record with leading practice. To say it simply, we are an excellent corporate citizen doing the best we can every day for the patients of New Jersey. All regulators exist to serve a common goal, to govern in the public's interest. So respectfully, with the facts at hand, it is hard to see your actions are in the best interest of New Jersey patients. And I wonder if they might be motivated by some other agenda. Investing our talent and time into compliance in New Jersey will always be our top priority. On behalf of my colleagues who have spoken before you, as well as the hundreds of other TerraSend employees who reside and work in New Jersey at our cultivation processing facility and our 3 retail dispensaries, we will continue to comply with your regulations as we have since 2008 when we started business in New Jersey. We will continue to prioritize patients and the people of this wonderful state of New Jersey. Thank you for your time.
The next 3 up to speak are, sorry. No, it's okay. Just please.
All right. Good afternoon to the N.J.A.C. My name is Al Kamara. I'm CEO of Spark9 LLC. I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for giving me a platform to talk here today. It means a lot to me. And I know that there's so many people out here sitting here today and are watching at home that have the same dreams as me as starting a cannabis business out here in New Jersey. As a conditional license holder, the time frame of converting to an annual license without capital or proper infrastructure has been very overwhelming. I truly appreciate the hard work that the N.J.A.C has put into helping minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses receive capital from the N.J.A.'s Equity Seed Grant, which I did apply for last week. As a conditional license holder, is it possible to provide more and better resources that can help guide minority-owned businesses to convert from legacy to legal? A little bit about myself. I've been arrested for cannabis 5 times in 1 year. In 2017, I used that as motivation to graduate from TCNJ with I got my master's in business. I attended Oxford University for 2 years, receiving certifications in horticulture and cannabis business startup. I worked in the cannabis industry for 5 years, working for Garden State Dispensary, Air Wellness, and Ascend Wellness. I've networked with some of the top names in the cannabis industry in New Jersey, just so I wouldn't have to feel like I'm starting from the bottom. Because if you could see with my credentials, you wouldn't think that somebody like me would be starting from the bottom. I've learned that everyone in this industry has different journeys aiming for the same goals. I've learned that being a Black face in high places is not just about getting a seat at the table, but it's about having a voice when you're at the table. We've reached the pinnacle of, this. Once we reach this pinnacle of this field, in this industry, in this sector, I just don't want us to, forget where we come from and to just everything that we're doing is for nothing, I am a leader in my community. I want to impact Black and brown people to take more ownership in business. I want them to understand that it's possible to be a successful entrepreneur, and it's also possible to receive your 40 acres of land and a mule like we all promised when we all came to this country. I have a great relationship with Wesley McWhite. I actually spoke to him about a week ago, and he did mention that they're working on technical assistance for conditional license applicants like myself. But, I'm just here to say, as a Black man, it's hard out here, man, and I feel like me taking the initiative to come here and speak to you guys face to face is big, like I just don't want everything that, Charles Barkley's been saying to just go in vain. We do need help out here, and I'm one of those people too as well. And, if there's anything that we can do, the Spark 9 team and me will be definitely happy to help. Thank you.
Next three up to speak are Anthony Passananti, Abigail Kalmbach, and Jonathan Julian.
Hello? Oh, sorry. I'm Anthony Passananti. I was awarded 3 licenses in New Jersey, so I really appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the opportunity. I moved here from California. I was there for 5 years in the industry. I have extensive knowledge on manufacturing, cultivation, retail. I came all the way back here. I dropped everything I was doing out there to come here and try to set the bar and be a pioneer. And as Mr. Barker was saying, produce craft cannabis for New Jersey. I have over 30 or 40 strains that I created in California that nobody in the world has, that I brought to the Garden State to try to hold it very highly. And I have a lot of passion for this state. Unfortunately, it's been quite a journey. I actually had 2 warehouses in Mount Holly that I applied for. I went to the township meetings. They don't care. They said, we're going to get back to you. Nobody got back to me. I lost my leases. And now my license expired for 2 licenses. So I'm sitting here, I'm running out of money. I moved back from California 1 year ago. I pretty much am draining my savings, just trying to hold on. And it's been very difficult. Mount Holly is extremely corrupt. As soon as I went to the clerk's office, I call them, nobody answers. I send emails, nobody answers. I go in their office, they're not doing anything. They're twiddling their thumbs. The assistant, twiddling their thumbs. Nobody cares. So I'm just here just trying to shine some light on the situation. Even when I talk to another township that I'm currently trying to get my manufacturing license with, they have no education. They're trying to tell me, you can't do this, you can't do that, but everything that is in my business plan was off the CRC's website. So I don't understand the misunderstanding. Even when I try to explain to them about pre-rolls, they don't even know what a pre-roll is. They call it cigarettes. So I think a little bit more training would definitely be should be established. I don't think that these people have any idea what they're talking about. They don't have any idea of cannabis. I can help any way I can help. I don't want any money. I'm willing to do it for free. But as the gentleman before just said, I don't want all my work to go to waste. I've literally been in this industry for 23 years. I dropped everything I'm doing to come to New Jersey. And it's just been like almost like a smack in the face, with all due respect, not from you guys, but just from the townships, the municipalities. I literally had warehouses with leases. And for some weird reason, they didn't approve me. They said, we're gonna get back to you, but now somebody else has that warehouse and has that lease and now has a license there. So it's like, if you guys approve me, why wouldn't they? What did I do wrong? You know, I'm a very sincere person. I'm very humble. I'm very grateful. I'm grateful to sit in front of all you guys right now. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful to just be in your presence, you know, and I just don't understand why this has to be so difficult. Why do I have to pay $2,000 for my 2 licenses to be reinstated when I had 2 warehouses? You could contact the real estate agent. I mean, I could show you emails from me to the clerk. I've left multiple messages. I've spoken in front of the township. I've done everything I can. And it's like they just step on you and just shut you down. And it's just not fair. And I know life isn't supposed to be fair, but I literally came 3,000 miles to put on for the Garden State, and I'm just stuck right now. I feel so depressed. I don't want to get out of bed. Every single day I'm checking my emails, seeing if Mount Holly got back to me. No emails. It's just very frustrating. So anything I could do to help or any light I could shine on the situation, I really appreciate you guys listening. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Abigail Kalmbach. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I come before you as a member of the New Jersey Cannabis Association's Laboratory Testing Committee. We are a group of scientists and laboratory testing professionals who are advocating for the enhancement of cannabis testing standards, scientific integrity, and safety for cannabis consumers in the state of New Jersey. Our focus today revolves around 2 crucial points that require your attention and immediate action. First, we implore the Commission to push for the establishment of New Jersey's own comprehensive testing guidance for cannabis. We are still following the 2020 version of Maryland's testing guidance and standards, which is antiquated from even what Maryland is using today. Advances in science have enabled scientists to do so much more to ensure product transparency and data accuracy. Our committee has provided detailed feedback to the Commission staff regarding testing standards for a safe and effective marketplace. It is time for the CRC to issue New Jersey's own testing guidance. Second, we draw your attention to the pressing issue of questionable laboratory practices and data circulating without proper governance. This is one of the largest problems in the cannabis markets, and New Jersey is not immune to it. The lack of oversight in lab governance poses a serious threat to the integrity of the cannabis industry in our state. We must address the potential manipulation of laboratory results and emphasize the need for a transparent and accountable system. The Commission should explore measures to enhance monitoring, reporting, and auditing processes within testing laboratories to ensure the reliability and accuracy of data generated. The efficacy of this governance will make or break our market. Our Laboratory Testing Committee worked diligently on a set of recommendations for a robust lab governance program. We pulled best practices from cannabis markets across the country and have outlined a comprehensive plan that includes practical and achievable uplift points. These measures can be implemented swiftly to address the current gaps in the system. By taking immediate action on those recommendations, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission can truly stand behind the "Buy Legal, It's Safe and Tested" campaign and can demonstrate its commitment to upholding the highest standards in cannabis testing and ensure the long-term success of the regulated market in New Jersey. In conclusion, we urge the Commission to prioritize the establishment of New Jersey's own testing guidance, address questionable laboratory data through the implementation of a recommended lab governance program without delay. The citizens of New Jersey deserve a well-regulated and safe cannabis industry, and your leadership is pivotal in achieving this goal. Thank you for your time and dedication to the betterment of this community.
Good afternoon, board and staff. My name is Jonathan Julian, and I'm an undergraduate student from Rutgers, New Brunswick. And I'm a biology and public health major, and I'm looking to represent my age demographic because oftentimes I feel like our age demographic is a little lazy in coming to platforms like these to talk about our needs. So overall, I'm very excited and satisfied with your efforts this committee has put in, but I have some suggestions. Commissioner Barker's last session and report on Public Engagement and Education Committee talking about the Cannabis Smart and Cannabis Safe campaign. I thought it was pretty smart. The highlights of it that were important to me were that you said it was providing unbiased, non-judgmental, science-based information to the public, which is truly valuable to my community as well, our age demographic of college students. And I understand that this committee is targeted toward adult populations, but the younger population has a value for your wisdom. And you did say you had a target audience of tweens and teens. So I feel like there does need to be more of an effort to push that sort of education into both high schools and universities. I did like your URL media, but I think it's just not close enough to the public education system. And I'm sure it's hard to tackle federal education systems, considering the federal government still criminalizes cannabis. But I think if there's anyone to push that goal out, it'd be people like you. And I know those are big steps, but plausible goals could be like preventing public health campaigns in high school from, I remember in my high school, there'd be a police precinct that came in and just labeled cannabis as a gateway drug. It was lazy. And honestly, they didn't provide any education on it. It was just like this bad, this Schedule I drug, etc. So I think for starters, those should be removed. And as the previous commenter mentioned, I think research needs to be improved about this. So pushing universities to encourage this criminalized substance, I feel like we'd get better study and better results on how it affects our local communities. So yeah, maybe it could just be observational studies, but at the end of the day, I think tackling these federal institutions is where we need to make the most impactful education reform. And finally, I feel like willing police precincts could really use your wisdom as well in legal expertise, because I feel like they struggle in understanding the new laws surrounding DUIs and like whether or not they can pull over someone if there's smoke in the car or whatnot. And yeah, thank you for your time.
The next three are Chris Goldstein, Lou Magazoo, and Cindy Ortiz.
Okay. Sure. Hello, my name is Chris Goldstein. It's okay that you said Steen. I'm a longtime cannabis consumer advocate, and it was really interesting here today. I used to be on the board of directors of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey and helped pass the Compassionate Use Act here. So the discussion about the decline in the medical marijuana program was particularly interesting to me. I also work as a regional organizer, so I'm in Pennsylvania and Delaware and New York. Pennsylvania has nearly 1 million registered medical marijuana patients, and they only have about 3 million more people in population. They don't have a ton more dispensaries in Pennsylvania. We have about 60 operating here. They have 160 in Pennsylvania. The interesting part is that a lot of the same corporations operate on both sides of the river. Why are patients not going to the dispensaries? One big reason, as you know, is price. But my problem with the price is that when you look at Air Wellness will sell you an eighth in the medical menu across the river. You could see Pennsylvania from here for $18. The lowest price they have for patients here is $45. Then you get to TerraSend, who you find today, I think correctly, that's just my opinion, $20,000 is only what, like $400 eighths or $400 ounces? Not that much money for them. TerraSend in Pennsylvania will sell you a half ounce for $42. That's a whole ounce for $84. In New Jersey, the lowest price they offer patients is $95 a quarter. We're talking about patients who are expected to pay 3 and 4 times as much as across the river to the same companies for the same products. Consumers are not stupid. We look at menus. We look at menus across states. And I encourage you, please look at the menus for the operators across the river, because they're gouging on this side. Now, as far as the doctors go, this is the other thing that patients face in New Jersey. There are hundreds of doctors, and even now, urgent care centers in Pennsylvania that will make the medical marijuana recommendation. We've never had that kind of access to doctors here in New Jersey. What can you do? We've got to break through this barrier. How do we get urgent care centers and doctors in New Jersey to make the recommendation? Because patients are sick of paying $200 and $300, not to the state for the recommendation, and I really appreciate you dropping that charge, but to the doctors, the doctor card services that are charging the patients. That's why patients aren't participating. So I appreciate this, and I'll send in my written comments all the info about pricing. Thank you again.
I'm going to go over the names of people that haven't spoken just one more time. Cheryl Murray Powell, Reina Garcia, Lou Magazoo, and Cindy Ortiz. Not seeing any of those people. So Chairwoman Waynu, this will conclude the registered speakers we have for today's public meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Said, and thank you to all of our commenters for sharing your thoughts with us today. This concludes the business that the Board of Commissioners has before it. Is there any new business for the board to consider? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we adjourn.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to adjourn? I'll ask the audience to please keep it down. Any discussion on this motion to adjourn? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. The time is now 2:45 and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and have a good evening.